"Can I buy the dog, Daddy?" she asked softly. The police officer looked down at the trembling German shepherd in the back of the animal control van, and he froze. Because the name on that dog's collar was one he hadn't seen in 15 years. A name that made his blood run cold. A name that belonged to a ghost. What happened next would change 3 lives forever. This is the true story of Officer Marcus Chen, an 8-year-old girl named Sophie, and a dog that carried the weight of an impossible past. But before we dive into this incredible journey, if stories of redemption, second chances, and the unbreakable bonds between humans and animals move you the way they move me, please hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. And stick around until the end, because the twist in this story will absolutely leave you speechless. Now, let's begin. It was a gray Saturday morning in Portland, Oregon, when Officer Marcus Chen responded to what should have been a routine call. An animal control van had broken down outside the city shelter with 3 dogs inside, and backup was needed to keep the area secure until a replacement vehicle arrived. Marcus had been a police officer for 12 years. He'd seen almost everything this job could throw at him. But nothing had prepared him for what was about to happen. As he approached the van, he noticed a small girl standing on the sidewalk about 20 feet away. She couldn't have been more than 8 years old, with dark braids and a purple backpack covered in unicorn patches. Her father stood beside her, one protective hand on her shoulder, clearly trying to steer her away from the scene, but the girl wasn't moving. She was staring at the van with an intensity that seemed far too profound for someone her age. Marcus nodded to the animal control officer and glanced into the back of the van. 2 pit bulls sat calmly in their crates, but in the 3rd crate was a German shepherd. The dog was older, maybe 10 or 11 years, with graying fur around his muzzle and a noticeable limp. But his eyes were sharp, intelligent, and somehow heartbreakingly sad. That's when the little girl broke free from her father's grasp and walked straight up to Marcus. "Excuse me," she said in that soft, serious way children have when they're trying very hard to be brave. "Can I buy the dog, Daddy?" She wasn't calling Marcus Daddy. She was asking her own father, who had hurried over behind her, apology written all over his face. "Sophie, honey." "We can't just," her father started. But Marcus wasn't listening anymore, because he'd just seen the name on the dog's collar. Ajax. His hands started shaking. The world seemed to tilt sideways, because 15 years ago, Marcus Chen had a partner named Ajax. Not a human partner, a K9 partner. A German shepherd who had saved his life and paid the ultimate price for it. Or so Marcus had thought. "Where did this dog come from?" Marcus asked the animal control officer, his voice barely steady. The officer checked her paperwork. "Owner surrender. Elderly man passed away last month. No family willing to take the dog. We've had him for 3 weeks now. Beautiful dog, but..." She lowered her voice. "He's old. He's got arthritis, and he's been trained for protection work. That makes him basically unadoptable. He's scheduled for..." She didn't finish the sentence. She didn't have to. Marcus felt the little girl's hand slip into his. "Please," Sophie whispered. "He's sad. He needs someone." Her father put a gentle hand on her shoulder. "Sophie, sweetie, that's not our decision to make." But Marcus was barely hearing them. He was staring at Ajax, and Ajax was staring back. And slowly, impossibly, the dog's tail began to wag. Just slightly. Just enough. Marcus turned to the animal control officer. "I need to make a phone call." 20 minutes later, Marcus had the answer he'd been dreading and hoping for in equal measure. The records confirmed it. This dog wasn't just named Ajax. He was Ajax, his partner. The dog who had been reported killed in action 15 years ago during a drug raid gone wrong. But the truth was more complicated. Ajax had been critically injured that night, shot twice while protecting Marcus from an armed suspect. The veterinary team had worked on him for hours, but the prognosis was grim. Recovery would be long, expensive, and uncertain. The department, facing budget cuts, had made the call to euthanize, but one veterinary technician couldn't do it. She'd seen too much light in Ajax's eyes, so she'd falsified the paperwork, listed him as deceased, and taken him home. She'd nursed him back to health over 6 months, then quietly adopted him out to her father, a retired veteran who needed a companion. For 15 years, Ajax had lived a quiet life, loved, cared for, but never forgotten who he'd been. And now, standing in that parking lot, Marcus understood something profound. Ajax hadn't died that night, but a part of Marcus had. The part that believed in second chances. The part that believed some stories could have happy endings. He'd spent 15 years carrying the guilt of Ajax's death, believing he'd failed his partner, that his decisions had cost an innocent animal his life. And here, impossibly, was his chance to make it right. "I want to adopt him," Marcus said suddenly. "I'm his former handler. We worked together. I thought he was dead." The animal control officer's eyes widened. "Officer Chen, that's incredible. But I have to tell you, the paperwork is going to take at least a week, and he's scheduled for—" "No." Marcus's voice was firm. "You're not putting that dog down. I'll pay whatever fees necessary right now. I'll sign whatever needs to be signed, but Ajax is coming home with me today." "Excuse me," a small voice said. Everyone turned to look at Sophie. Her father had tried to lead her away, to give the adults space to handle adult business, but she'd planted her feet, stubborn, determined. "If you're taking Ajax home," she said to Marcus, her eyes shining with unshed tears, "promise me you'll love him. Promise me you'll give him the best life ever, because he's been waiting. I can tell. He's been waiting for someone." Marcus knelt down until he was eye level with this wise little girl. "I promise," he said. "Ajax and we have history, and I owe him everything. I'll make sure his last years are filled with everything good." Sophie nodded solemnly, then did something that broke Marcus's heart in the best way. She walked over to the van, pressed her small hand against the crate, and whispered, "Goodbye, Ajax. You're going to be happy now." And Ajax, this old warrior dog who had been through so much, who had saved lives and survived against impossible odds, gently pressed his nose against her hand through the bars. 3 hours later, after paperwork, phone calls, and one stop at a pet store for supplies Marcus hadn't owned in over a decade, Ajax walked into Marcus's home. The dog moved slowly, his arthritis obvious, but there was something different in his bearing now. Recognition. Peace. As if some part of him had always known this moment would come. That night, as Ajax slept on a new orthopedic dog bed beside Marcus's couch, Marcus found himself crying for the first time in years. Crying for all the time lost, for all the guilt he'd carried, for the miraculous impossibility of this reunion. But mostly, he was crying in gratitude. Gratitude for a veterinary technician who couldn't follow orders when her heart said otherwise. Gratitude for an elderly veteran who'd given Ajax a loving home. Gratitude for a little girl with braids and a unicorn backpack who had the courage to ask a simple question that changed everything. Ajax lived for 2 more years after that day. 2 years of slow morning walks, gentle petting, soft words, and unconditional love. 2 years of Marcus finally forgiving himself. 2 years of both of them healing. And here's the thing about Officer Marcus Chen. He'd always thought of himself as Ajax's handler, his trainer, the one who gave the orders. But in the end, Ajax was the one who gave Marcus the greatest gift of all, the chance to be saved. Not from a criminal with a gun, not from physical danger, but from the prison of guilt and regret. From the lie that some mistakes can never be forgiven. from the belief that broken things can't be made whole again. "Can I buy the dog, Daddy?" 4 words from a child, 1 impossible coincidence, and 3 lives forever changed. Because sometimes the hero of the story isn't the officer. It's not even the loyal dog who served with courage and survived against all odds. Sometimes the hero is just a little girl brave enough to ask a question. A little girl who saw sadness and wanted to heal it. Who saw a connection that needed to be made. Sophie didn't just save Ajax that day. She saved Marcus, too. And if you're listening to this story right now, maybe she's saving you as well, reminding you that second chances are real, that it's never too late to heal, that sometimes the things we think we've lost forever are just waiting for us to be ready to find them again. If this story touched your heart, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. And remember, the smallest acts of compassion can change the world. Because a little girl once asked to buy a dog, and in doing so, she bought back hope itself. Please subscribe for more true stories that will restore your faith in humanity. Hit that notification bell, and I'll see you in the next one.